Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me and thank you for your continued support. If you enjoy what I do here, please do remember to subscribe, because it does help to push the channel forward, and it really does help a huge amount, so thank you for that in advance. Today I got a question from somebody via email. So if you've got any questions, or if you see something you think I should talk about, or anything like that, or you just want to have a chat, my email is down there to get in contact with me. And yeah, someone sent me this question, and I thought it's a very interesting little situation, especially where the DWP are involved. And basically what it is what is the definition of being disabled? It's quite a broad question, because it depends a lot on who you are and whereabouts you are in terms of your life, or also in terms of society. You know, an able-bodied person will probably have a very different view of what being disabled is to someone who is disabled. And we know that for a fact, because there's lots of hate going around at the moment against disabled people for various reasons. Even the DWP and the press and the government have weighed in on this. So, you know, this is something which a lot of disabled people are unfortunately getting more of. But I thought I'd start off with the official definition of what being disabled is, and that is from the Equality Act 2010, and that says you are disabled under the Equality Act 2010 if you have a physical or mental impairment that has a substantial and long-term negative effect on your ability to do normal daily activities. Now, if you want to know what substantial and long-term means, it means substantial is more than minor or trivial. For example, it takes much longer than it usually would to complete a daily task like getting dressed. Long-term means 12 months or more. For example, a breathing condition that develops as a result of a lung infection. But should it be something that lasts for 12 months or more? Surely are there some conditions which may not last 12 months, or you know, maybe something that can be dealt with within 12 months? I know that some conditions are exempted from that, and I think cancer is one of those exempted. But you know, is 12 months a good place to start, or do you think that it should be based on condition rather than based on a time factor, if you know what I mean? So that's another little question for you to answer while you're here as well. There are of course rules about recurring and fluctuating conditions, which I will talk about in a separate video if you want me to. But it also talks about progressive conditions. So a progressive condition is one that gets worse over time. People with progressive conditions can be classed as disabled. However, you automatically meet the disability definition under the Equality Act from the day you're diagnosed with HIV infection, cancer, or multiple sclerosis. So that's the official definition, and according to the DWP, that is the definition that they use when they are deciding whether somebody is disabled or not. Now, I would say, and I would argue, as I'm sure some of you out there would argue, that I think sometimes they blur the line a little bit, and they're not necessarily adhering to it in the way that you would expect them to. I think sometimes, you know, we've all been there. We've all seen examples of people who have you know, a serious condition like multiple sclerosis, and they haven't been classed as disabled enough to get DWP help or something like that. So, you know, we've all known that DWP don't always stick to the official structured definition as laid out by the Equality Act. So that's the official definition. But I would like to ask you guys out there what your definition of disability is, or of being disabled. Because for me personally, I think that being disabled is something that affects you. Affects you not necessarily every day, because there are fluctuating conditions that sometimes people can feel better on some days than other days, but I would say it's something that impairs your life, something which prevents you from doing things that an able-bodied person will be able to do. That's my personal opinion, of course. I think that, you know, yes, it would be long term, but I think some people can be disabled temporarily. For example, if they're battling cancer and things like this, I think it can be a disability in that sense. They can make a full recovery, in which case, are they still classed as being disabled? If they've had cancer and they're now in remission, fully cured, no side effects, do they still get classed as disabled? Or do you think that they are now able-bodied? That's a very interesting question. Not one that I think I can answer myself. But I would love to have your thoughts down in the comment section. What would you class as disability? You know, would you say that it's a physical condition that makes you disabled, or a psychological condition, neurological condition? Can that class you as being disabled? Does being disabled cover all of those categories? It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this, because obviously, as I've said before, the government are trying to, I think, change the boundaries and push the definition of what disability is, particularly when it comes to mental health. I think they're now considering mental health not so much as a disability, but perhaps from their point of view an inconvenience, when it isn't. It is a disability because it can be disabling, and it can be a condition which can affect your day-to-day life. So I would class that as a disability, but the government, I think, are trying to push away from that, and they're trying to say that, you know, someone who has anxiety, for example, or depression, that's not a disabling thing to have. But I think it is, personally speaking. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. It's an interesting little question that was put to me, and I know that you guys have always got good suggestions and good ideas in the comments down below, so it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on this as well. Do you think the the Equality Act goes far enough? Do you think it encompasses enough in terms of detail? Because obviously, you know, saying that this is a physical or mental impairment that has substantial and long-term negative effect on your ability, is that nailed down enough? Is that specific enough? Do you think it should be broader than that? Do you think it should be more specific than that? Do you think they should, you know, start to have a bit more, you know, drilled down version of the Equality Act? Let me know down in the comment section what you think. As always, please do subscribe if you've got this far, and I'll see you next time.